Leading into the Call of Duty future, we progressively see many features replaced or removed from the franchise. This community wanted change in that they wanted most of the broken game mechanics to be removed from future titles. For example, Martyrdom, which I've covered in a previous episode. However, some features were promptly removed and replaced by newer features. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the Slight of Hand perk. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare was the first game to implement perks with a progression and unlock system. With this, fans would see the first iteration of the Slight of Hand perk. In the Tier 2 slot, Slight of Hand cuts every reload time in half. Of course, this was so useful when using shotguns or some machine guns on close quarter combat maps like Shipment or Vacant, because the reload times in Call of Duty 4 were slow by default. However, very few players, if any at all, ran Sleight of Hand simply because Tier 2 contained objectively better options to use, and there was no way to pick more than one perk per tier. In the Tier 2 contained Stopping Power and Juggernaut, the two perks that countered each other. Stopping Power gave increased bullet damage, while Juggernaut reduced the incoming damage from bullets and sonic boom explosions. These two perks alone dominated the Call of Duty 4 scene, which made using Sleight of Hand a detrimental option. With next year's Call of Duty release, World at War in 2008, Sleight of Hand was also a part of the Tier 2 perk slot, and it also cut the reload time in half. But this time around, Sleight of Hand would become even more niche than it did in Call of Duty 4 because it ran into two major problems: Stopping Power and Juggernaut, which were just as effective in this game as in Modern Warfare. Not only that, but World at War featured a much different and larger scale map design than Call of Duty 4. Sure, some maps were on the smaller side, but generally speaking, World at War was a rifle-oriented game which better benefited the use of Stopping Power or Juggernaut rather than a perk to reload faster. And because of all of this, the Sleight of Hand perk was hardly ever used in Call of Duty World at War. Modern Warfare 2 would be the Call of Duty game where Sleight of Hand rose to the top. Now in the Tier 1 slot, Sleight of Hand featured extremely important changes that moved the perk from being barely used to a perk that was always used. Modern Warfare 2 featured pro perks, which added extra challenge to receiving the entire benefit of the perk. Sleight of Hand in Modern Warfare 2 enabled fast reloading, but its pro effect gave a faster aim down sight time across any class. Now players were able to aim in faster, allowing them to engage in gunfights more freely. Not only this, but Juggernaut was taken out of Modern Warfare 2 completely, and Stopping Power was in the Tier 2 perk slot. So Sleight of Hand only really had to compete with Scavenger and maybe Marathon in very niche situations. And therefore, because of its buffs, Sleight of Hand was now a top tier perk amongst all perks in the franchise's history. Moving forward to Call of Duty Black Ops, players would see the return of the Sleight of Hand perk, as well as its pro perk effect, with a minor change. Everything was the same as it was in Modern Warfare 2, except the faster aim down sight time did not affect sniper rifles this time around. This was done in an effect to nerf quickscoping, and it was a very mixed decision. Half of the community was happy about this change, while the sniping community was not. And because players were used to having fast aiming snipers in just the year prior to Black Ops, it was a change that took some adjustment. Unlike Modern Warfare 2, Sleight of Hand stayed in the perk Tier 2 slot from World at War, and this time both Stopping Power and Juggernaut were gone from the game. Because of this, Sleight of Hand was a very successful perk in Black Ops because it really only had to compete with hardened and steady aim. And because it was in Tier 2, players could also run the Tier 1 perk, Scavenger, together with Sleight of Hand, which was not possible during Modern Warfare 2. The last of the Modern Warfare games, Modern Warfare 3, brought back the Sleight of Hand perk from Modern Warfare 2 with a few minor changes. First, just like in Black Ops, both Stopping Power and Juggernaut were now gone from the game, giving Sleight of Hand a major boost. Second, there was a change to the perk's pro effect. In Modern Warfare 2, it enabled the fast aim down sights time, but in Modern Warfare 3, the pro ability was to swap weapons faster. This was still useful, but definitely not as powerful as its predecessor perk was in Modern Warfare 2. Though the ability was split off to create another perk in the Tier 2 slot, a perk known as Quick Draw would allow for a faster aim down sight speed with its pro ability to recover from throwing lethals and tacticals 3 times faster. Modern Warfare 3 would end up being the last time Sleight of Hand had a pro ability in the franchise. Propelling past Black Ops 2, as it did not include a traditional Sleight of Hand perk, Call of Duty Ghosts introduced some interesting implementations, such as putting all perks under one category to freely pick perks by point level. However, there were no pro perk abilities, so Sleight of Hand actually reverted back to its Call of Duty 4 form, where it cut the reload speed in half. However, unlike Call of Duty 4, Ghosts did not have Stopping Power nor Juggernaut, so Sleight of Hand was a favorite perk to use and was often chosen to be a part of one's class setup. Although the perk still continued to be used, it was removed and replaced from the franchise after Call of Duty Ghosts. Going back to Call of Duty Black Ops 2, it was the first game to remove Sleight of Hand in favor of making it an attachment called Fast Mags, which would allow for a faster reload, and many had mixed opinions on this. While Ghosts did bring the perk back, its traditional name did not stay in any Call of Duty game thereafter. Advanced Warfare had a feature built into it the entire game where double tapping the reload button would cause a faster reload to happen, but it would also drop the ammo currently in the magazine. Both Advanced Warfare and Black Ops 3 featured similar perks like Fast Hands and Dexterity, giving players the ability to swap weapons faster, mantle, and reload while sprinting, but none of these games featured a traditional Sleight of Hand perk. Call of Duty Infinite Warfare did feature a perk in the Tier 1 category called Dexterity, which allowed for faster reloading and weapon swapping. This perk is exactly the same as Sleight of Hand for Modern Warfare 3, only under a different name. The same would become true when we look at the upcoming Call of Duty World War II. Of course, Sleight of Hand did return upon the release of Modern Warfare Remastered, but it was exactly the same as it was back in Call of Duty 4. Aside from this, Sleight of Hand was brought back into Call of Duty World War II as a basic training perk equivalent named Hustle. Hustle gave the player access to faster reloads and reloading while sprinting. This combines the original Sleight of Hand perk with something similar to Gung Ho. This basic training acts more like Sleight of Hand from the past games compared to the Fast Mags attachment, and although this perk has many names after Call of Duty Ghosts, everyone will always remember it as Sleight of Hand, and it continues to be seen as a staple perk of the franchise. I am Ninja Geek, and this was the history of Call of Duty.